Have you ever looked at a neighbor's balcony bursting with lush herbs, juicy tomatoes, and bright flowers and thought, why doesn't mine look like that? You've got the same pots, the same plants, and maybe even more enthusiasm. Yet somehow your soil stays soggy, your leaves turn yellow, and your harvest ends up looking, well, a little disappointing. You're not alone. Container gardening may look simple, a pot, some dirt, a plant, but behind that simplicity hide a few critical rules that make all the difference between thriving greenery and tired, struggling plants. And tonight we'll uncover them together. These are the 5 mistakes you must never make when container gardening. Mistakes that silently ruin even the most promising plants. If you've ever wondered why your basil wilts, why your tomatoes stop growing, or why your flowers fade too fast, the answers might surprise you. 1. Using the wrong soil, the root of all problems. If container gardening had a single silent assassin, it would be bad soil. It's one of the easiest mistakes to make, and one of the hardest to recognize until it's too late. You might start with the best intentions, a few scoops of soil from the garden bed, a lovely new pot, and your favorite young plant ready to thrive. You fill the container, pat down the surface, water it generously, and step back proudly, imagining lush growth in just a few weeks. But what happens instead? The plant doesn't look as happy as you expected. The leaves yellow from the bottom up, growth slows to a crawl, and the once healthy green turns pale and dull. You might even notice small flying insects, fungus gnats, hovering near the rim of the pot. When you finally tip the plant out to investigate, you're met with a sour, earthy smell and roots that are brown and mushy instead of white and crisp. This is what happens when you use the wrong soil. Garden soil might seem like an easy choice, but it's not made for life in a container. In the ground, soil breathes naturally. It drains through layers of rock and sand, refreshed by air and microorganisms. But in a pot, that same soil becomes suffocatingly heavy. It packs down tightly, cutting off oxygen and trapping water around the roots. Without airflow, the roots literally drown in their own home. And once the roots go, everything else follows. That's why you need a true potting mix, not soil at all. A blend engineered to stay light, fluffy, and alive. Good potting mixes contain ingredients like peat moss or cocoa coir, which hold moisture without suffocating the roots, and perlite, vermiculite, or pumice, which keep air flowing through the medium. Compost adds natural nutrition and beneficial microbes, creating a balanced environment where roots can breathe, drink, and grow. Think of your pot as a tiny ecosystem, your plant's entire world. The air pockets between soil particles are its oxygen supply. The organic matter is its food source, and the water that flows through it is its lifeline. If the soil becomes too dense, you've cut off everything that keeps it alive. Here's a simple homemade mix that works wonders for almost any container plant. 1 part compost. This provides long-term nutrition. 1 part cocoa coir or peat moss keeps moisture consistent. 1 part perlite or pumice creates drainage and airflow. You can even adjust this mix depending on the plant. Add more perlite for succulents and cacti, or more cocoa coir for thirsty vegetables like tomatoes. And one more thing. Don't underestimate how quickly potting soil breaks down. Over time, it compacts and loses its structure, even if it looks fine on the surface. If you've reused the same soil for more than a year or two, it's likely harboring old roots, fungal spores, or pests. You can rejuvenate it by mixing in fresh compost, or better yet, start fresh every new season for your most sensitive crops. Here's the truth. Soil isn't just a place to anchor roots. It's a living, breathing foundation for the entire plant. When you get it right, your plants respond in ways you can see almost overnight. Leaves perk up, roots spread deeply, and growth becomes vibrant and steady. So next time you plant, remember, good soil is not an afterthought. It's the beginning of everything. 2. Overwatering, drowning in good intentions. Of all the mistakes gardeners make, this one is the most common and the most tragic. Because it doesn't come from neglect, it comes from love. You care about your plants. You don't want them to thirst or wilt. So you water them regularly, maybe even daily, thinking you're giving them what they need. But before you know it, that bright green basil turns limp. Your tomato leaves curl downward. The soil feels damp, yet the plant looks parched. You add even more water hoping it helps, and that's when the real trouble begins. What's happening below the surface tells a different story. Inside that pot, there's no deep ground for the water to escape to. It gathers around the roots, filling every air pocket that once held precious oxygen. Without oxygen, the roots suffocate, rot sets in, and fungi take over. By the time you notice something's wrong, the damage is already done. The symptoms can be deceiving. A drooping plant can look thirsty, but in an overwatered pot, it's actually gasping for air. The stems soften, the leaves yellow, and growth halts. In severe cases, the plant collapses overnight. This is why experienced gardeners say most plants die from kindness. So how do you fix it? The key is not how much you water, but how you water. When you do water, make it deep and thorough. Let the water flow freely until it drains from the bottom holes. Then leave the plant alone until the top inch of soil feels dry. You can check this with your finger, or better yet, use a simple moisture meter for accuracy. That top inch rule is magic. It prevents water from sitting too long while ensuring the lower roots stay hydrated. If your container doesn't have drainage holes, that's the first thing to change. Without them, your plant is trapped in a puddle. Drill a few at the bottom, or place your plant inside a plastic nursery pot that drains properly, and then set that inside a decorative outer pot. Another important tip, never water on a schedule. The weather, sunlight, and humidity all affect how fast soil dries. In the heat of summer, your plants might need water daily. In cool, cloudy weather, once every few days might be enough. Let the plant, not your calendar, tell you when to water. And what about humidity? In dry climates or heated indoor spaces, leaves may wilt even if the soil is moist. That's not a sign to drown them. It's a sign they need humidity, not more water. Mist lightly or place a shallow tray of pebbles and water nearby to raise the ambient moisture. Drainage setup tip: a thin layer of gravel or small stones at the bottom of your pot can help prevent soil from clogging the drainage holes. But don't rely on this alone. It doesn't pull water away from roots, it just keeps holes open. Good potting mix and proper holes are what truly save your plants. Finally, always empty excess water from saucers or trays under your pots. Standing water is an invitation for mosquitoes, fungus gnats, and root rot. Think of watering like giving your plants a rhythm, a natural pulse of hydration and rest. Deep drink, then time to breathe. When you master that rhythm, your plants transform. Leaves become glossy, new shoots appear, and growth turns strong instead of weak and watery. Remember this simple mantra: water less but better. Roots need air just as much as water. 3. Choosing the wrong container. Why size and material can make or break your garden. Let's be honest. When you start container gardening, those pretty little pots from Pinterest or the garden store can be hard to resist. They come in every color, shape, and pattern imaginable. You see a mini tomato plant sitting in a teacup, or a small lemon tree growing from a bowl, and think, wow, that looks so cute. But here's the reality. In gardening, what looks adorable online often doesn't work in real life. Plants aren't ornaments. They're living, breathing organisms that need room to grow both above and below the surface. When a plant's roots don't have enough space, several things go wrong at once. The roots start circling around the pot, strangling themselves over time. This condition, called root bound, stops the plant from taking up water and nutrients properly. The result? The leaves turn yellow, growth slows to a crawl, and the plant starts looking sad and thirsty no matter how often you water it. In small pots, water runs straight through the soil before the roots can absorb it. The plant constantly struggles to stay hydrated. Meanwhile, nutrients are flushed out quickly and your plant becomes weak and malnourished. So, how do you avoid this trap? It's all about matching the container size to the plant's needs. Herbs and salad greens like basil, parsley, and lettuce do well in pots that are at least 6 to 8 inches deep. Medium crops like tomatoes, peppers, or eggplants need 12 to 18 inches to spread their roots comfortably. Larger plants or dwarf trees such as citrus or blueberries need at least 20 inches deep, ideally more. A simple rule of thumb: bigger pots equal healthier plants. Larger containers don't just give roots more room, they also help stabilize moisture and temperature. Small pots dry out quickly and heat up fast in the sun, which stresses roots. Bigger pots hold water longer and protect plants from sudden temperature swings. Now let's talk about container material because that matters too. Terracotta or clay pots. These are classic and breathable, allowing air to reach the roots. However, they dry out faster. Great for succulents, not ideal for thirsty plants. Plastic pots. Lightweight and moisture retentive, perfect for hot climates or forgetful waterers. Just be careful in full sun. Black plastic can overheat and bake the roots. Fabric grow bags, increasingly popular because they allow incredible air circulation. They prevent roots from circling by, naturally air pruning them, leading to stronger root systems. But they dry out quicker, so they need more frequent watering. Wooden planters. A beautiful natural option that holds moisture well. But choose rot-resistant wood, like cedar, and line it to extend its life. And one more critical detail: drainage. It doesn't matter how beautiful your container is. If it doesn't have holes at the bottom, your plant is doomed. Without proper drainage, excess water collects at the base, suffocating the roots and causing rot. Always make sure water can escape freely. If you really want to use a decorative pot without holes, here's a trick. Use it as a cache pot. Place a smaller, well-drained pot inside it. That way, you get both beauty and functionality. Finally, think of containers as your plant's home. Would you want to live in a closet with no windows and no space to breathe? Neither do your plants. Give them space, airflow, and a pot that suits their needs, and they'll reward you with lush growth and steady harvest. The bottom line, the right pot doesn't just hold your plant. It supports its entire life system. Bigger is almost always better, and breathable materials plus good drainage are your best friends. 4. Ignoring light requirements. The sunlight mistake that can doom your plants. Sunlight is the single most misunderstood factor in container gardening. People buy plants, set them all together on the patio, water them, and wait for results. Some thrive, some wilt, and others just stop growing, all because they're getting the wrong amount of light. Here's the truth. Not all plants love the sun equally. Just like people, some bask in it all day, while others need shade to stay comfortable. Let's start with the sun lovers. Tomatoes, peppers, eggplants, strawberries, cucumbers, and most fruiting plants need 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight every single day. That means full, strong light, not filtered through glass or shade cloth. These plants convert sunlight directly into the energy they need to flower and produce fruit. Less sun means fewer flowers, fewer fruits, and smaller harvests. Then there are the partial shade plants, the ones that prefer gentler conditions. Lettuce, spinach, arugula, kale, and parsley actually suffer under intense sun. When exposed to too much heat, they bolt. That is, they grow tall, send out flowers, and turn bitter. These are best placed where they'll get morning sun and afternoon shade. If you're gardening on a balcony or windowsill, orientation matters a lot. South-facing spots get the most light, great for sun lovers. East-facing spots get mild morning sun, perfect for greens and herbs. North-facing areas are usually too dim for vegetables, but good for shade-loving plants like mint or ferns. Now, here's how to tell if your plants are happy with their light levels. Leggy stems, tall, thin, weak growth. Not enough light. The plant is stretching toward the sun. Scorched or curled leaves, too much sun, especially common in delicate greens. Deep green, compact growth, just right. If your space doesn't get enough natural sunlight, don't give up. Technology is on your side. LED grow lights can be a total game changer. They mimic natural sunlight and allow you to grow vegetables even in shaded balconies or indoors. Modern versions are energy efficient and come with timers, so you can set them for 12-16 hours of light per day. And remember, sunlight changes throughout the year. That sunny corner in spring might be in full shade by midsummer, when nearby trees leaf out or when the sun shifts position. Don't hesitate to move your pots every few weeks to chase the light. Here's a quick pro tip. Shiny surfaces like mirrors, white walls, or even aluminum foil can reflect light and brighten darker corners. This trick is especially useful for indoor gardens or small balconies. The key takeaway is simple but crucial. Sunlight is food for your plants. You can water, fertilize, and care for them perfectly. But if they're not getting the right amount of light, nothing else will make up for it. When you respect each plant's sunlight needs, giving shade to those that need rest and full exposure to those that crave it, your container garden transforms from struggling to thriving. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about planting. It's about understanding how your plants live, breathe, and eat through light. 5. Forgetting to feed. the silent starvation trap that slowly kills your plants. It's one of the most overlooked and most damaging mistakes in container gardening. You might water regularly, check the sunlight, and even talk to your plants. We all do it. But if you forget to feed them, you're quietly starving them to death. Here's the thing. In the ground, plants have the freedom to spread their roots deep and wide, searching for nutrients in the soil. There's a whole underground ecosystem, worms, microbes, decomposing leaves, constantly replenishing the food supply. But in containers, none of that exists. Your plants are completely trapped within the walls of that pot. Every drop of nutrition they'll ever get has to come from you. At first, when you plant in fresh potting mix, everything seems fine. The soil is full of life, your plants are lush and green, and growth comes fast. But what many beginners don't realize is that most of those nutrients only last for a few weeks. Each time you water, a little bit of that goodness washes out through the drainage holes. After a month or so, the soil becomes a nutrient desert, dry, depleted, and empty. That's when trouble starts. The once vibrant green leaves turn pale or yellow. Growth slows to a crawl. Flowers stop forming. The plant looks tired, no matter how much you water it. Many gardeners mistake this for overwatering or lack of light, when the real issue is much simpler. Your plant is hungry. So how do you feed your plants properly? It starts before you even plant. When you're filling your pots, mix compost or a slow-release fertilizer into the potting mix. This gives your plants a steady supply of nutrients right from the start. Slow-release fertilizers are coated granules that dissolve gradually over time, ensuring a consistent feed for several months. But that's just the foundation. As your plants grow, their appetites grow too, especially fruiting and flowering plants like tomatoes, peppers, and strawberries. To keep up with their needs, you'll want to supplement every 2 to 3 weeks with a liquid fertilizer. For general growth, a balanced fertilizer like 10-10-10 or 20-20-20 works beautifully. Equal parts nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Think of this as the plant's version of a complete meal. Nitrogen builds strong leaves, phosphorus supports roots and blooms, and potassium boosts overall strength and disease resistance. Once your plants start flowering or fruiting, it's time to shift gears. Switch to a bloom-boosting fertilizer higher in phosphorus, the middle number, and potassium, the last number. These nutrients encourage blossoms and help fruit mature fully, rather than pushing out endless leaves. If you prefer to keep your garden organic, and many container gardeners do, there are wonderful natural options. Worm castings, a gentle, slow-release source of nutrients that improves soil structure and boosts microbial life. Compost tea, a liquid made by steeping compost in water, rich in beneficial bacteria and trace minerals. It gives your plants an instant, natural growth boost. Banana peel water, packed with potassium and a touch of phosphorus, perfect for tomatoes, roses, and peppers. Fish emulsion or seaweed extract, fantastic all-purpose organic fertilizers that strengthen plants without burning roots. But even with the best feeding plan, you'll need to watch for the signs your plants are sending you. They communicate their nutrient needs clearly if you know what to look for. Pale or yellow leaves mean a nitrogen deficiency. Your plant can't make enough chlorophyll. Poor flowering or fruiting signals a phosphorus shortage. Weak stems and dull leaf color suggest a lack of potassium. Brown leaf tips or stunted growth may indicate salt buildup from over-fertilizing. When it comes to feeding, consistency beats intensity every time. Avoid dumping in large amounts of fertilizer all at once. That can actually burn your roots, doing more harm than good. Instead, feed lightly but regularly, keeping your plants nourished without overwhelming them. A simple way to remember this is to think of fertilizer as fuel. You wouldn't fill your car with gas once and expect it to drive for months. You refuel regularly to keep it running smoothly. Your plants are no different. Every leaf, stem, and fruit is the result of nutrients transformed into growth. Without that steady stream of nourishment, even the healthiest plant will eventually wither away. If you want thriving, productive container plants, feeding isn't optional, it's essential. Combine slow-release fertilizer at planting, regular liquid feedings throughout the growing season, and an occasional organic boost, and your garden will stay green, vigorous, and abundant. In short, don't just water your plants, feed them too. Because in container gardening, you're not just their caretaker, you're their entire ecosystem.